Alright, welcome to Do You Know AGF. In today's video, we'll be unleashing how to answer WAEC questions correctly even this very year. And this very video will talk about We'll talk about how to get maximum marks from From that very difficult question you might actually see in your exam hall. I want to tell you even how to answer questions on explain, on something like divine, on something like highlight, on something like state, difficult, like discuss, differentiate. We'll talk about that in this very video. I'll just like you to actually not to miss any part of this very video, because this very video will talk about all the things you should know before you get to that very examination hall. Please, before I continue, I would like to tell you that even this very channel is an educational channel that helps students to prepare for their examination. We've actually started to make a lot of videos on WAEC past questions for students. If you would like to get notified when we upload more videos like that, you can just click that red subscribe button you can see below this very video, and also click the notification bell. It's just for free, and you'll be able to enjoy our video. Now, this is the thing. You actually know that before you can answer a question correctly, there are some things that you must have done even before you get to that very examination hall. So I would like to talk about that briefly before I actually explain, even after you've gotten to that very examination hall, how to answer that very question. The first strategy I would like you to implement is to create an effective personal reading timetable from that very WAEC timetable you've actually gotten, you have right now. So after you've actually created that very timetable, I would like you to use that very timetable to treat your past questions. You treat, maybe just try to revise. And now the revision is this. Anytime you want to revise, I would like you to go, take a very book with you, and then try to jot down important like all the formulas you should know. You know, in physics you have a lot of formulas, in mathematics you have a lot of formulas, in another subject like that. So try to jot down the formulas, and try to jot down important points. It is maybe 2 days to that. It is maybe like 30. I said 30 minutes. Maybe like 2 hours to that very exam. You can just open it. You know, it's not that you are reading right now. You can just open it and let me just go through what I've read before. And with that, you'll be able to you'll be able to go through all those things you've read, maybe like for like 25 days, just within 30 minutes. You've actually gone through them, and you'll be able to get the best from that very thing. Now, another thing I would like you to note is your handwriting. If you're actually not really good, maybe your handwriting is not good, you don't write legibly, please try to inculcate an habit of writing legibly before you get to that very examination hall. Okay, let me tell you the reason why you should write legibly. You know, a lot of the very person that would mark your scripts would have a lot of scripts to mark, right? So you see, you can't actually tell me that very person would maybe let me just check if she should write beat instead of bat. She should write C instead of saw. I tell you, that very person will not check things like that. If you are actually not writing legibly, you can actually lose a lot of mark. I tell you, some people should actually get a lot of marks. I tell you, they should be one of those people that should celebrate A1. But I tell you, this very thing would lead them to having something like maybe B3, something like C5, C6. See, it's not funny. I tell you, please try to embrace this opportunity to change your writing. Now, I don't know if they've told you this before, but I will tell you again. Quietness is a golden rule for great achievers. If you actually want to pass that very exam and achieve that very thing you would like to achieve, I tell you, you must be quiet. And this very quietness would help you to think critically on what you've read. I want to tell you, critical thinkers are always leaders. Take me for my words. Critical thinkers are always leaders. Oh, I didn't say this. For example, I used to use a method just to understand what we mean by sin 30, sin 60, sin 90, sin 45, and tan and cos in an examination without me using a calculator. That's trigonometry, right? Without me using a calculator. And this is just the simple trick. What I would do is you can see the triangle you can see on the screen right now by the left hand side. This very triangle you can see there, you can see angle 60, you can see angle 30, and you can also see root 3, 1 and 2, 5. So with that, I'll be able to use SOHCAHTOA to get the sine of 30, to get the cos of 30, and with that I don't really need to use calculator, and I'll get my answer in short form. just like that. You can also see the one you can see by the right hand side, where you can see tan 45, you can see 45 degrees, and you can see what 1 1, and you can see root 2. With that, I'll be able to get my answers, the answers to some of the trigonometry values, even without me using a calculator. I would like you to pen things down just like this and revise them before you get to that very examination hall. Now, the last thing here before I talk about how to answer questions correctly is your mindset. Your mindset can hinder you to get the best. So please correct your mindset. I don't want to know if you are not actually good academically before. You can make it. I believe that. Just try to aid hard. Now, the first thing I will talk about on answering questions correctly is for you to place correct value on instructions. I tell you, just see a lot of students, they would neglect instructions. Why should you neglect instructions? Now, I want to tell you, instructions matter. Just imagine. Let's just sit down and imagine this. Now, let me now frame a question. Like after I frame that very question, do you think the instruction I would give out would actually neglect the marks I would allocate for that very question? No. The instruction would guide a student that would actually want to pass that very exam to pass it very well. Because my instruction will be based on on the marks I've actually allocated for that very question. Now tell me, and this man is just saying nonsense, Jari. Leave his instructions, Jari. Let's move on to our questions. I tell you, you've actually failed even before you start that very exam. Now in WAEC, the instructions you would actually see there would be something on HB pencil. We would see something on your names, on your index number, things like that. Please try to follow all those instructions, and even some other things that will be communicated to you in the exam hall. Now, the next tip I will be sharing with very, very important, even for objective questions and even for theory questions, is that anytime you see a question, please try to understand that very topic, that very question. And after you've understood, don't just try to rush into that very question without understanding it. Please understand that very topic, that very question. And after you've understood it, please have a rethink. Think about that very topic and rethink, and have a rethink on that very topic. And after that, please arrange your answers. Please arrange your answers even before you would write anything on that very topic, on that very aspect in the examination hall. This would even help you to avoid cancelling things in your answer booklet. Now, the next thing I'll talk about is on time consciousness. This would even help you to score the maximum mark you can score from difficult questions. You ask how? Okay, let me tell you. This is it. If you get to a question and you see that very question, it seems this very question would be difficult, just leave that very question and get right to that very next question. I tell you, after you've solved other questions, all those questions that you would actually see that could be simple. Now, after you've solved all those questions and there is still time, because with that time consciousness that I told you before, there should be time. So after you've done all those things and there is still time, just come back and check, try to do that very difficult question. You will see that out of maybe 100 questions like that, you would be able to solve many of those questions correctly. I've actually experienced things like that. Now, still on the issue of this very question, I see a lot of students making this very mistake. You have question number 1A. Question number 1A is allocated 6 marks. Question number 1B, you can see 1 mark. Question 1C, you can see 3 marks. Question 1D, you can see 5 marks. And out of these very questions, you can only answer B and C. And you know that's 4 marks out of 15 marks. And you see a lot of students doing that very 4 marks instead of you going to a question that will give you the maximum mark you can get. No, please, I would advise you to choose questions that you will be able to solve something like 1A and D. That's if you check that one, that's 11 out of 15. Is it not better than you solving a question that would give you 4 marks out of 15? You see the wide gap. So please try to note something like that. Now, for questions like discuss, you are asked something like discuss so thing. Now, the meaning is this: they are actually asking for an in-depth meaning of that very thing. So you have to what? You have to tell them the in-depth meaning. You have to tell them the knowledge, you've actually gained about that very thing. You have to tell them, and please make sure it's very, very short. Just put down key points. Okay, I'll still talk about some things later. So now after that, if you are talking about listing, if you can see something like list, that means if you state, if you see something like state, if you see something like list, it's just for you to list some of these, like list 5 things. So try to list and make sure they are what? Key points. Now this very thing I will talk about now, you actually need it. Please try to make sure you get that very thing. If this is the only thing you will get from this very video, please grab this. And this very tip is on how to help an examiner to award you marks. Number one thing you should do is to write in points. If you're actually writing in paragraph, like if you just write a paragraph, I tell you the main points will not be known by that very examiner. Looking at someone that has over 500 scripts to mark, now you're not telling me that very examiner would wait to read through your paragraphs just to pick out the key points. No, it can't be. So please try to write in points. The second thing I will talk about is for you to underline that very keyword. If you can underline it, it will be very good. So it would help the examiner to see that very keyword immediately. He wants to mark that very, he will be able to she would be able to see it, he will be able to see it, and that will help you to gain more marks. The second one is the third one I will talk about on this aspect is for you to number your answers correctly. Some people would number 1 1 1 1 instead of 1 2 3 4. No, they would have maybe a lot of things that you don't understand now. So please try to number your answers correctly, and also please be consistent with this numbering, and that will help you to gain marks in your examination. Now this very tip it's one of the key tips I will tell you in this very video, and that's for you not to neglect God. If you actually want to be the very best you would like to be, if you actually want to answer that very question correctly, why don't you stick to that very, very maker, the person that actually created the examiner? He originated the examination you are actually trying to write. I tell you, without God, and the examiner will not be there to actually write that very exam. So he knows everything about the exam. He knows how you can do it to pass that very exam. We've seen cases of people that they would be like, have I actually answered this very question correctly? But after the exam, you would see them. You see their exams. You see that A1, and some people that would even they would have thought that I've answered this very question correctly, Gary. If that question should come back again, you see, I'm very, very sure of my results. See, okay, maybe it is 3 months time or thereabout. You see my results. You see my results. You see that I would have A1. If there's something like A star, I would have A star. I tell you, those people, you will see them that they would have F9, C5, C4. Why? It's because of this very missing link. Please try to adhere with God. Try to draw closer to God. And I tell you, God will never neglect you, and He will be with you. He will help you to answer those questions correctly. Just like I already told you that I've made a lot of past questions that would help you to prep for your WAEC this very year. You can check the link to those past questions in the description section. Please don't forget all the tips I've shared in this very video, and if you've not subscribed, please click the red subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you will get our videos immediately when we upload them. Do you really want to pass WAEC this very year? Click and watch the big card you can see on the screen right now. It has those that had designs in the WAEC 2018-19 said that could help. On this positive note, don't forget the name of this very channel is Do you know AGF?